Well, good morning, Green Valley. Can we stand to our feet? Hey, so glad you guys are here with us this morning, whether you're in the room or you're joining us online. Hey, we're gonna sing this song. It's called Honey in the Rock. And I'm sure some of you guys have heard it before, if not most of you. But I thought it was interesting. In the past, when we've sung this song, I'm like, oh, it's honey from the rock. That's great. And then I sing the rest of the song. But when I looked into it more, it's pretty simple. And I just wanted to explain it if maybe you're in the same boat as me. Right, honey is known as this rich and sweet thing. And then we sing honey from the rock. When we say the rock, we're talking about Christ, about Jesus. Right, he's our rock. He is a solid, firm foundation which we can lay our life upon. So when we sing there's honey in the rock, we're singing there's sweetness that flows out of him daily. His mercies are new every morning. The God of the Old Testament who did miracles, Jesus in the New Testament who did crazy miracles, he's the same God today, who still loves and provides for his people. So as we go out through the rest of this Christmas season and we sing out these songs today, I want you to remember that truth, all right? All right, let's sing.
There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need. There's honey in the rock. Praying for a miracle, thirsty for the living well. Only you can satisfy. Sweetness at the mercy seat. Now I've tasted. It's not hard to see. Only you can satisfy me. There's honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock.
Yeah, freedom where the Spirit is, bounty in the wilderness. Only you will satisfy. There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need you got. There's honey in the rock, purpose in your plan, power in the blood, healing in your hands. Started flowing when you said it is done. Everything I need is enough. I keep looking, I keep finding, I keep giving, keep providing. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. So I keep praying and you keep moving. I keep praising and you keep proving. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. I keep looking, come on. Yeah, I keep looking and I keep finding. You keep giving, you keep providing.
in you, Jesus. Oh, how sweet it is to trust in you, Jesus. Oh, how sweet it is to trust in you, Jesus.
table that you've prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. It's your body and the blood you shed for me. This is how I find my battles. Come on, let's sing that again. There's a table that you prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. It's your body and the blood you shed for me. This is how I find my battles. Come on, let's declare this morning. And I believe you've overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for what you've done. This is how I find my battles. This is how I find my battle. Come on, this is how I find my battle. Oh, this is how, with praise, and this is how I find my this is how I find, with our hands lifted high. Come on, this is how. In the valley, I know that you're with me. Surely your goodness and your mercy follow me. So my weapons are praise and thanksgiving. Well, this is how I find my battle. Yeah, I believe. Come on, we sing. And I believe we overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for what you've done. Come on, how do we fight? This is how I find my battles. This is how I find my battle praise. This is how I. This is how. This is how. Yeah, this is how I. This is how. When we start to lift praise in this room, the enemy has no place in our lives. There's no room for him to scheme. There's no room for him to be here. When we praise and we start to worship God, walls start breaking down, prison doors fling wide. So when we sing it, let's sing this together. It may look, come on. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by. Come on, we sing. I'm surrounded, but I'm forever surrounded. It may look like. Yeah, we sing that again. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm. Yeah, come on. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded with our hands lifted high. It may look like I'm
This song that we just sang is grounded in the Bible. A number of stories that took place where people were in very dark and difficult situations, but when they started to pray or sing to God, they realized that they were not in the battle by themselves. Are you grateful that no matter what you face, God is in the battle with you? Can we say thank God for that today? Amen. Woo! So, hey, we're grateful that you're here today. And if you're a guest or visitor, or if you're online for the first time, let's just welcome those who might be here visiting us today. All right, you can take a seat at this time. This is a time that we pause and we just take a moment to give back to God for what He's given to us. And every week we thank you guys in gratitude for all that you do to help the ministries go on here at Green Valley. And so we thank you for your giving. There's 3 ways you can give. It's in the regular way, the old-fashioned way, like myself. You can write a check, put it in the box, or you can go on our app, or there's another one.
The website.
The online. There we go. All right, there we go. You can do 3 ways to give and take advantage of that.
Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Hey, this week has been jammed-packed full of amazing things at Green Valley. Raise your hand if you were part of or stopped by a night at the North Pole here this past week. Yeah, look at all those hands. You guys, we had so much fun. This was an incredible outreach event. We had over 2,400 people come through our doors over those 2 nights. It's pretty amazing. And you know, the cool thing about it is while we have a ton of fun, you know, Santa and Mrs. Claus, all the characters, the whole reason we do this really is with a missional focus in mind.
Yeah, and that mission is to get them back to hear the message of good news of Jesus Christ. And on the way out, everyone received an invitation. And what we would like our church body to do is just to pray for those that entered the church for the first time maybe in their lives. And this is the reason why we do the event, because some people think that if they go to church, it's going to fall in on them because of their past or something like that. But we wanted to see that it's a welcoming place. So pray that they come back to hear the good news of Jesus Christ at our Christmas Eve services. We have 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. On Saturdays, 3:30 and 5. And on Sunday, it's 9:30 and 11. Invite someone. Here's a little statistic. Used to be the Easter and Christmas were the most advantageous days to invite someone to church that's never been. Easter has fallen off the map, folks, sad to say. Christmas is number 1. So this is the one time a year that people are more apt to step into a church and hear the good news of Jesus Christ. So don't come by yourself if at all possible. Do the ask. Bring someone to one of our 4 services. We are going to give them the good news of Jesus Christ on Christmas Eve services, all right?
Absolutely. It's amazing. Hey, you know, as the weather gets a little cooler, we've recognized a need in our community, and we know that when we bring a need to you, our church family, like that need is met. And so we're excited to share with you that we are doing a coat drive. So if you have any new or gently used jackets or coats that you're able to donate, we would love to pass those along to the friends in our community who are looking to stay warm as the temperatures drop out there.
And so I have multiple good news about our year-end giving. The first one is this. We have exceeded our goal of $100,000. We are now at $119,000. Woo! It's because of your generosity. And also, because of that, we're going to take 10% of that. We're going to put it into our missions budget. And that mission budget helps support something that we're actually going to do today. As a matter of fact, Nicole and I are going. Rebekah's going to run off the stage after she's done. We got to catch a plane at 2 o'clock at Sacramento because we are going to go to Mexico and do Christmas in the Canyon. And we are going to supply all those kids in the Canyon who live in extreme poverty with the best Christmas celebration and gifts. It might be the only thing they get. And it's because of your generosity that we get to do that. Here's the last thing. Remember in November we said because we were doing the year-end giving, we got kind of into the year-end and we forgot the regular budget. So because of your generosity, we've made up 1/3 of that. So if we could pivot from the year-end giving now and hit the budget, we want to be fiscally responsible and end the year in the black. And so if you could just help us with that, that would be our goal, to end the year in black and make up for what we're behind on. It'll be a great year. Last but not least, as a pastor, thank you. You guys are great. It's your family, it's your church, and you're making it a place where we can do a lot of great things in the name of God. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
It's incredible. So much to celebrate. Hey, Becca's going to come in just a moment and share our next message in the All I Want for Christmas series. And as she does, why don't you stand, say hello to someone around you.
All right, all right. No, it's not working. Do you have me? Okay. All right. Who's excited to be in church today? Oh, you guys, I feel like you can do a little bit better than that. Who's excited to be in church today? I'm super thankful to get to share the next message in the series that we have been in for the last 3 weeks. And the series is called All I Want for Christmas. And we have been firmly planted in the book of Isaiah in chapter 9 in verse 6. And so just to quickly orient us and replant us today, I'm going to read it for you. And this is what it says. For a child is born to us, a son is given to us. The government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. And John gave a message on Jesus being mighty God and what that looks like for us. And then Scott talked about the Wonderful Counselor and the Everlasting Father. And if you guys missed those, or even if you want to re-listen to them, I encourage you to do that. There's some really great stuff in there that we can apply to our lives and can be really encouraging to you in this season that we find ourselves. Our big idea for this series is this. Christmas gives us the one thing that we're looking for. Do you guys remember when you were a kid, or maybe you're in the room and you are a kid, and you would begin to see all of the presents start to collect under the tree? And you would be wondering, what in the world fits into that shape of box, right? And just the anticipation and the waiting and the not knowing is just so brutal, isn't it? Well, I have a confession to make to you. When I was a teenager, I have a sister who's 3.5 years older than me, and when we were teenagers, we couldn't wait anymore. And so, being the amazing teenagers that we were, while my parents were at work, we decided that we were going to go through all of the gifts under the tree and unwrap them and see what we were going to be getting for Christmas. It's horrible. And then we rewrapped them as perfectly as we possibly could, and then tried to reorganize them under the tree the way that my mother had left them so that she would not know what we had done. Anybody willing to admit to having done that when you were a kid? Anybody willing to admit that you still do it as an adult? I know you do. You go sneaking in the closet trying to figure out what your spouse is getting you. But here's the thing about Advent. Advent is the season that we are in currently, which is working its way toward Christmas. And one of the main themes about Advent is waiting. Waiting. And I don't think we're very good as human beings at waiting. But I want you to know this. The text that we are in Isaiah, was written, it's a passage that was written 700 years before Christ. Okay? And it's at a time where things didn't only just seem to be dark, they actually were extremely dark. Judah was being led by an unfaithful monarch whose short-sighted defensive policies literally plunged the nation into more desperate straits than they already were in. And in chapter 8, the chapter just before the one that we're sitting in and we're studying, Isaiah warns of an impending Assyrian invasion. And here's the thing about the Assyrians. They were known for this policy called scorched earth warfare. And what that means is that they would go into places and conquer places and people, and they would literally destroy everything. They would burn homes, they would engage in indiscriminate killing, and their goal was the complete and utter destruction and eradication of communities and of people groups. So that's what Isaiah describes and warns about and says is coming in chapter 8. And then we find ourselves in chapter 9, and in verse 1, beautiful verse 1 of chapter 9, this is what Isaiah says. Nevertheless, that time of darkness and despair will not go on forever. Isaiah wraps the history of this time that he is in with the prophecy of a greater time that will come. A time that people are waiting for, where there will be no more darkness and no more despair. A time where there will be no more suffering and no more anxiety. It will all come to an end. And how can he say this? How is this even going to happen? These people are staring down this invasion, and they have no way of understanding how that time is going to come, where all of that suffering is ended. And how can he say it so confidently to a people staring down, being wiped off the face of the earth? Isaiah, a prophet of God, somebody who gets to speak a message from God to his people, confidently delivers this promise with certainty. It's as though he's gone under the tree and he's unwrapped the gift and he knows what it is. And this is what the gift is that he tells us about. He says, a child is born to us. A son is given to us. And what he is saying in this one short phrase is this to a people who think they're going to be wiped off of the face of the earth. A son is going to come from your people. You have a future. You have a hope. And then he says the government will rest on his shoulders. He's saying this person, this son, is going to be a leader. Not like the leader that you've got right now that is messing with you and leading you down the wrong path. And that leader is going to look like this. He's going to be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. This son will be everything that they and we have been waiting for. It's the one who will fight our battles, the one who will do what no one has been able to do before, the one who will guide and direct, the one who will never leave us, and the one who will bring and rule and reign in peace. And the gift that is coming is Jesus. And today we're going to talk about how Jesus, the Prince of Peace, provides, he protects, and he purposes our peace. Christmas gives us the peace that we've been waiting for. And that peace looks like this. It looks like no more striving. It looks like no more aimless wandering. No more powerlessness, no more isolation, and that peace is found only in Jesus. And so first I want to talk about how Jesus provides peace. I think everybody wants peace, but few actually find it. And the complicating thing about peace is that we all have different ideas of how to achieve peace, right? But I'm going to tell you this. I think we could agree on this universal truth right here. Never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. Right? So just everybody take a deep breath today. I am not going to stand up here and tell you to just calm down. Okay? There was a man who had been doing a lot of worrying, and that worrying caused a lot of anxiety in his life. And so he decided that he was going to post an ad stating, I will pay somebody $200,000 a year to do my worrying for me. And so people submitted their applications, and he did a couple of interviews, and then he decided on somebody and hired the person. And after a few weeks, that person came to the man and said, excuse me, how do you plan to come up with the $200,000 that you're going to pay me? To which he replied, I don't know, that's for you to worry about. Hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just give our worries to somebody else to deal with? Anybody in here willing to admit that you need some peace in your life? Anybody look around at the world and say, man, our world needs some peace? Well, I also want you to think for a minute, what does that actually mean to you? When you picture peace for yourself or peace in your life, what does that look like? Or when you picture peace for our world, what does that look like? The Bible has a lot to say about peace. And this is what the Bible says. Peace is tranquility. It's harmony, security, prosperity, and well-being. It is a wholeness and a completeness where there is no lacking. Can we even fathom what that is? Peace is mentioned 429 times in the King James Version of the Bible. And there are 3 different types of peace that the Bible generally talks about, and they're these: inner peace, peace with God, and peace with each other. And here's the good news that you are going to hear from me today that I know to be true, is that peace can be found in Jesus. And that Jesus is actually the only source of real and lasting peace. And that is why he came to earth. There's a story in the book of Mark where Jesus is with his disciples. He's out on a boat, and all of a sudden a storm comes and it starts to completely wreck the boat. The boat's just going here and there, and the disciples start to freak out, and they look around, and Jesus is nowhere to be found because he's sleeping. And so the disciples are in the grip of the storm, and they start to panic. They are filled with anxiety and with fear. Would you admit to me today that life gets stormy? Right? And it can cause us to become anxious and afraid. It can cause us to start to panic. As of March 2023, so that is this year, 50% of adults age 18 to 24 reported anxiety and depression symptoms. Young adults today have come of age in an era of pandemic-related school closures, of remote work, which isolates us, right? And job and income loss. And all of these things contribute to poor mental health and higher levels of anxiety in our young people. We are also discovering that some people have a genetic predisposition for anxiety. That means it's a biological thing. It is a physiological response to things that is happening within our bodies. And we also know this about the time that we live in and the way that we live our lives. Many of the things that we do actually heighten our levels of anxiety. We are trying to live in ways that we were not created to live in. We are trying to manage our lives that are really unmanageable because we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves and everybody else. And our anxiety levels are through the roof. Here's the truth. We cannot avoid difficulty in life. We can't do it. The storms of life are inevitable. If you've lived for any amount of time, you know what I'm saying is true. Storms are part of being alive. But I want us to look at what the disciples did in the storm. They went and they cried out to Jesus. They went and they woke him up and they said, "Hey, this is what's going on." They went and woke him up. And in verse 39 of Mark chapter 4, it says this: when Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." And suddenly the wind stopped and there was a great calm. There are times in our life when Jesus will tell the storms to be quiet. Jesus can and oftentimes does change our circumstances in order to bring us peace. There are so many incredible, amazing stories of when Jesus walked the earth and the ways that he entered into people's circumstances and then changed them. He healed sick people, and he gave sight to the blind, and he turned water into wine, and he raised his friend Lazarus from the dead. He fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And when the disciples were out and fishing in a boat and they couldn't get any fish, he told them where to put their net, and he filled them. And not least of all, Jesus himself raised from the dead, victorious over hell, sin, and the grave. In all of these stories, Jesus provided peace by changing people's circumstances. And he does, and he can do that today for you. I have experienced that in my life. But you guys, that's just part of the way that Jesus provides us with peace. There are times when Jesus provides peace right in the middle of the storm. We just sang a song about, it may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. And when we were singing that in first service, I just started to imagine what that actually looks like. And this is what it looks like to me, is that Jesus takes us when we're in the storm and puts us right in the middle and then builds a wall right around us that protects us and protects our peace. That's how Jesus can bring peace to us in spite of our circumstances. Because Jesus gives us a different kind of peace. It's actually a supernatural peace. And the way that Jesus said this in John chapter 14, verse 27, he says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." So it's his gift to us, but he does not give it to us as the world gives it to us. And so don't let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Because the world's peace, it is fleeting and it changes with circumstances, but God's peace is permanent and it is secure, and it is permanently secured in Jesus. That's what God does. I like the way that Tony Evans says it. He says, peace does not mean that you won't have any problems. Peace means that your problems won't have you, because Jesus has you right in his hand. And so I want to ask you, what storms are you facing in your life? What things in your life are causing you incredible amounts of anxiety and fear? When we're in the storms of life, it feels like we're just getting pushed back and forth and just pushed around and shoved around and almost harassed, right, by the storms of life. What are those things for you? I believe and I know with all of my heart, because I have experienced it, that Jesus wants to and Jesus can provide every one of us with peace. And here's how he does that. Think about what the disciples did in the boat. What did they do? They called on Jesus. And so one of the ways that Jesus provides us with peace is actually through prayer. We tell God what is going on, not because he does not know what is going on in our lives. You guys, he is fully aware. He knows all of the things. But the reason why we turn to God in prayer is because it takes our focus off of the situation and puts it on him. It's the same reason why we praise through the storm. It is the same reason why we fight our battles with praise and with thanksgiving. There's this incredible exchange that happens when we go to God in prayer. We hand over our anxieties to him, and he gives us in return incredible, supernatural, perfect peace. The second thing is that God can provide a way through the storm by leading us to places, to professionals, to people that will help us navigate and overcome our anxiety and alleviate some of our difficult circumstances. We are not meant to do this alone. And God, he will hold you fast. He will hold you safe in the eye of the storm. He will not leave you there. He will walk you through to the other side, and he will use other people to walk with you. That is what God does. Anxiety and fear, they can't paralyze your life when Jesus provides you with peace. But Jesus doesn't only just provide us with peace. He then protects our peace. So, protecting our peace. We've had an incident in our house that has gone on for a couple of days this week, and this is what it is. And it's been an incident that has been disturbing my peace greatly. We have a broken dryer. And if you turn the dryer on, it makes the most horrendous noise you have ever heard in your life, you guys. It sounds like a whale. It's like, every time, okay? It is so loud. It is so loud that our laundry room is over here and our master bedroom is over here, and I can hear it in the master bedroom with all of the doors closed. That's how loud it is, right? And so if the dryer's running, I feel like it's impossible to find peace in our house. The noise is so loud. I feel like the world is like that too. It feels so noisy sometimes that it is impossible to find peace. The psalmist describes a noisy world this way in chapter 46. He says, earthquakes come and mountains crumble into the sea. Just for a moment, like imagine what that sound would be like, the mountains crumbling into the sea. He goes on to say, the nations are in chaos and their kingdoms crumble. God's voice thunders and the earth melts. This sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? And so as I was sitting in my home office this week and I was trying to study and prepare to be speaking to you today, my beautiful, wonderful, amazing, helpful husband decided that he was going to go in and turn the dryer on. And immediately I became so agitated. So agitated. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't concentrate. And I sat there and I was like, I just want the noise to stop. So I got up and shut the laundry room door. Problem solved, right? No, I just told you how loud it is, that I can hear it all the way on the other side of the house. The noise kept seeping through this flimsy, not very thick door that guards our laundry room, and it got me thinking. Closing that door was futile. It was ineffective. And it's a lot like the things that I do in my attempt to quiet the noise in my life and protect my own peace. I have to admit to you, I have some perfectionist tendencies. And I tend to think this way. If I can just get it right, if I can just do it right, if I can just be right, then the noise will all quiet down and I will have some peace. Here's the problem. When I do that, I live into this lie. The lie that the enemy has been telling humanity since the beginning of time, that led to the fall in the garden and allowed sin to enter the world. And that lie is this, that we can and we should do it all on our own. That we can be like God. That we just need to strive and try harder. And that we can fix our own brokenness that makes life so noisy. But our striving is not going to fix it. Only God can do it. Further on in Psalm 46 in verse 9, this is what the psalmist says. He, God, causes wars to end throughout the earth. He, God, breaks the bow and snaps the spear. He, God, burns the shields with fire. So, and here comes a beautiful, well-known verse in verse 10, be still and know that I am God. The context of this verse is so important, you guys. First, the psalmist tells us all of the things and who does all of the things, right? It is God. And when we know that it is God that does all of the things, then we have a responsibility to literally be still and just know that he does all of the things. There's another translation that says it this way, stop striving. Stop striving and know that I am God. I have noticed a phrase floating around on social media, hung in office places, all over the place, and this is the phrase: you are enough. And I get the idea. I get the intention. I get the sentiment behind it. When people hang that on their wall or they say it to somebody, this is what they mean. They mean there's nothing you need to be deemed as valuable and worthwhile. And I agree with that. But here's where it gets tricky. When life gets really noisy, eventually we're going to discover that no matter how good, no matter how smart, no matter how capable or funny or successful we aren't enough. And then when we face that truth and that reality, we begin to spiral and our peace becomes completely undone. But you guys, that's why we need a Savior. This beautiful, complicated truth that we are simultaneously enough and not enough is held together in Jesus. And we don't need to be something that we are not in order to be loved by Jesus, because God's love is unconditional. God's love is unrelenting, and God's love is perfect. The Bible tells us that God loved us, that God loved the world so much that he sent his only Son, the Prince of Peace. The Bible also says that God shows his love for us, that while we were still sinners, while we are still not enough, that Christ died for us. And it also tells us that nothing is able to separate us from the love of God. And so I want you to hear this from me today. Stop trying to be enough in all of the broken, loud, noisy, stormy places of your life. Stop trying it. You don't have to be enough. Stop striving. Just like my laundry room door isn't enough to block out the noise of a broken dryer, you and I will never be enough to fix and block out the noise of this broken world, because we weren't made for that. We aren't God. I want us to be set free from the pressure to be enough. We don't have to be, because Jesus is. Jesus is enough, and that's why he came. Jesus, Emmanuel, God in it with us, enters into the noise of a broken, weary, bloody world, and establishes himself as a barrier, a soundproof door that stands to protect our peace in the noisiest places of life by being enough himself. That means when we find ourselves in places like the emergency room, or we find ourselves in the place like the divorce lawyer's office, or sitting at the kitchen table trying to pay our bills, or at a custody hearing, or at Celebrate Recovery, or going to chemo treatments, or going to a recovery program, or in therapy, or ugly crying on our couch after a breakup, or in the grocery checkout line trying to figure out how we're going to pay to feed our families, or in school drop-off, or at a funeral. Whenever we find ourselves in those noisy, messy, broken places, we don't have to be enough to have peace, because Jesus is enough to be our peace in those places. So what are the areas in your life that feel noisy? Maybe I just listed one off. Where do you need the Prince of Peace to protect your peace? Where do you need to stop striving and just be still and know that he is God? There's a beautiful promise in Isaiah 26, and it says this: Jesus will keep, which means he will watch over and guard and preserve in perfect peace all who trust in him, all whose thoughts are fixed on him. There have been different seasons in my life that have been harder than others. And when I find myself in those, there's a practice that I do that I want to share with you today. It's just a very practical way of allowing God to protect our peace. And this is what I do. I go to my Bible and I turn to Psalm 23. Find it here. Psalm 23. And here's what I do. This is how I am still with God. And I let it take as long as it needs to, which in and of itself is a rebellion in our fast-paced world, right? I read verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd. I just pause right there. That's not even all of verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord. That means the one who reigns over all things, the one that I have surrendered my life to, the one who gets to say what goes and what doesn't go in my life. The Lord is my shepherd. What does that look like? He cares for me. He provides for me. He leads me. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. And sometimes it'll take me a whole day, maybe a whole week on half of a verse. And I just meditate on it, and I pray about it, and I allow myself to sit still and know that He is God. No matter what we walk through in life, you guys, no matter how much noise there is, Jesus is the provider and the protector, really the defender of our peace. And when He gives us that peace and when He protects that peace in us, He then uses that peace for a purpose. He purposes our peace. Henry Nouwen has a book called Wounded Healer, and essentially what the idea is behind being a wounded healer is it's somebody that offers their hurts to help others receive comfort and encouragement. It is somebody that shares in the sufferings of Christ, that shares the comfort of Christ with others. We become gentle, strong, compassionate presence for people. And we encircle them and we are around them when we are wounded healers. We become Christ's ambassadors for peace to a weary, weeping, broken world. Just this week, I experienced God repurposing my peace. I've shared with you that 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and then I had 2 heart surgeries after that, and it was the stormiest, noisiest part of my life that I had known up until then. And I experienced God providing me with peace and protecting my peace, and He carried me through it and brought me to this point, and I'm so incredibly thankful to be alive. But you know what I'm more grateful for? Is now that God has done that in my life, I get to share that with other people. I had an opportunity to pray with and encourage one of our young people who's just recently received a diagnosis of cancer. And because I have walked that road, I know what that storm looks like. I can call it by name, right? And I know how noisy the world becomes with that diagnosis, but here's what I also know. I know what it means for Jesus to walk with me every step of the way. I know what it means when the psalmist says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you comfort me. And because I have experienced that myself, and because I am willing, I've surrendered myself and said, God, I want you to use it for your purposes. I could look that young person in the eye and I could say, this is the kind of peace that Jesus wants to provide you with. He wants to provide you with a peace where there is no more striving. And what that means is that God will fight your battles for you. I could look her in the eye and say, the peace that Jesus provides means no more aimless wandering. That means you don't have to guess at what is next, because God will literally guide you step by step. I could say to her that this peace means no more powerlessness, because God will be her strength. He will wake her up in the morning. He will get her out of bed. He will help her get dressed. He will help her face what the day holds. I could say this peace means no more isolation, because God will literally walk every step with you. And God will bring other people to walk every step with you. I could say to her, because I know deep in my soul that Jesus is the only pathway to perfect peace. And I could pray over her with certainty and confidence, declaring what I know God can do, declaring who I know God to be, because God did it for me and God will do it again. So my challenge for us this season, my challenge for you is, in what way does God want to use you to be a wounded healer? When we look at the things that are going on in our world, and there are some really big things going on, we could be overwhelmed. But the kingdom of God starts with a mustard seed. It starts with one small, simple act of making peace, and it will spread throughout the earth. The central message of Christmas is that we're not alone, that Jesus is mighty God, that Jesus is wonderful counselor, that Jesus is everlasting Father and Prince of Peace, and he walks with us, and we get to walk with others. I want to invite you to just close your eyes and bow your heads for a moment, and the worship team is going to sing a blessing of peace over you. And after that song is done, Colin is going to come and he's going to pray a prayer of peace over you. God wants to use you to be an ambassador of peace in our community and in your family and in our world.
Depths of your deepest sight. Oh, come and drink from the only living stream, and on his shoulder lean. And may the hope that will not deceive through every pain bring eternal ease. There is no night that can steal the promises his coming brings to us. So may his joy rush over you to lighten the path he has called you to. May all your steps walk in heaven's in this night. steps, walking heavens in this night, beyond this Christmas night.
And our eyes closed. Dear Father, although the world is in chaos with confusion, unrest, and fear, unraveling more and more with each coming day, you, O Lord, are steadfast and faithful, the one I can always turn to find true peace. So today I'm turning towards you, asking for your peace to fill my heart and my mind. Help me to look towards you rather than today's headlines. When fear tries to arise within me, let your peace chase every fearful thought away from my heart. Help me not to be anxious about anything, but in every situation to turn to you with prayer, petition, and thanksgiving with my requests, so that your peace, which transcends all understanding, will guard my heart and my mind in Christ Jesus. Thank you, Father, for promising to keep me in perfect peace when my mind is steadfast and trusts in you. Help me, Lord, each and every day to be secure in your care over my life. In Jesus' name we say, amen. Hey, thank you guys for being here with me today, with us today. Hey, just a quick reminder, we have prayer partners here on the sides if you need prayer. But also this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we will have our Christmas Eve services. So please don't forget to come, invite your neighbors, invite your friends, invite your family. We're so looking forward to seeing you guys then. Have a good week.